Greetings, folks. Joseph Kursky here with you on the ESRI Education team to talk about the new map viewer in ArcGIS Online. The new map viewer in ArcGIS Online. Now, my colleague Kylie Donia and I presented this recently at the ESRI Education Summit, June 2021, and we are happy to answer any questions and work with you all going into the future as you will become successful with the new map viewer. Now, the new map viewer is a part of this ArcGIS platform. It's a system. This system includes field tools such as Survey 123, the ESRI field maps, and quick capture and other field tools, web mapping tools, coding and development tools, spatial analysis tools, web mapping applications like story maps and dashboards, and software. Some software is desktop connected to the cloud, such as ArcGIS Pro. Some, like ArcGIS Urban, ArcGIS Insights, and today's focus, ArcGIS Online, runs entirely in the cloud. Software as a service, nothing to install, works on any device anytime. Second point today is that GIS continues to rapidly advance and evolve. Every time it does, it gets more powerful and yet easier to use. The new map viewer is a perfect example of this. Why a new map viewer? Well, the classic map viewer was created in 2010 and served its purpose, and I would argue, and then some. The improvements that people have been asking for, plus new audiences for GIS, new data, new capabilities of the JavaScript 4.x tools, combine to make the new map viewer both a needed improvement and a reality. Now, the workshop goals here is to discuss the new map viewer. What is it? Why should I use it? How should I use it? I'm going to give you a demo of some exciting new capabilities: sketching, charts, blending, and more. For more, see our extended recording of our full workshop that was given at the Ed Summit that should be available in July 2021. We're going to discuss differences and similarities of the map viewer to the map viewer classic, provide some resources to dig deeper and learn more, and give you confidence that you and your students can be successful. A couple of teaching strategies as we go through. This is a snapshot as of June 2021. I will provide a brief look ahead, and we will model the problem-solving strategy of teaching with GIS, all the things you and I love about teaching with geotechnologies, experimenting, asking questions, and more. Let's get into the new map viewer, shall we? I've got a web map with a couple of layers in it that I've created actually in the new map viewer. I'm going to open it up in the classic map viewer, and it's going to say, hey, Joseph, you created this in the new map viewer. Don't you want to use it? No, I don't. I want to, for the demonstration for the next 30 seconds, to open it up in the classic. So I'm going to say not right now. So this is the classic map viewer, again, that we've used, known and loved for the last 11 years or so. Notice we've got some tools on the left side. We've got some metadata capabilities that we can look at. We've got the layer list. We've got a legend. We've got some tools at the top, changing the base map, looking at the metadata once again, sharing, printing, measuring. We've got a couple of things way at the top here. We've got the title of our map, and then a choice whether we want to open it in the new map viewer or the classic. And if we want to modify the map, we have additional choices here: saving, adding data layers, sharing, etc., measuring, setting spatial bookmarks, and more. So this is the classic map viewer. I'm going to open this up now in the upper right in the new map viewer so we can see some of the differences here. Remember, this is the same exact map with the same layers, and now I'm using the new map viewer. So, for example, we've got, in this case, a data set obviously for the USA. Do we have data for the whole world? Yes, we do. It's part of the Living Atlas of the World and also in ArcGIS Online and in various data portals. The open data movement is allowing you to access more and more data for your region, your country, your community, your world. Okay, there's loads of data out there. This is just an example. But for illustrative purposes, notice it's the same basic map that I had before. So I've got, if I go to the left side, I've got a list of layers, okay? Now, you've got nothing in the new map viewer at the top except the title and the toggle, whether you want to open it up in Classic or not, and then also the sign in. In the new map viewer, notice you've got a couple of different things. You have a gray pane on the left side with some capabilities here. Some are grayed out because I'm not signed in to ArcGIS Online, and I think that's important for a couple reasons we'll talk about. For example, the bell's ringing in 5 minutes, my students are coming in, I want to be able to have some data for them to discuss and have it ready to go, and I don't want to have to sign in right now. I'm not going to save or share, I'm just going to have them open it up in a web browser, nothing to sign into, and I'm going to have them look at some patterns, relationships, and trends. Okay. Also, my students are arriving in an online environment in 5 minutes. I've got to have something ready to go. I don't want to sign in, and I don't want them to sign in. So there's legitimate reasons and legitimate power that you have at your fingertips without actually signing into ArcGIS Online. You have more power when you sign in. You're going to have all of these things on the left side, for example, saving, adding bookmarks, adding data. Notice in the new map viewer, you actually have to sign in to add data to your map. But you'll have more capabilities once you sign in. You'll be able to make web mapping applications such as story maps, etc. All these things that are grayed out will not be grayed out once you sign in. But let's just take without signing in, for example. Okay, I'm looking around at this map and I see my layer list, and I also have capabilities at the right side with the new map viewer. So for example, if I go to this state level geography, I've got properties for the state level. For example, I've got transparency. Okay, that makes sense that I can do that there. And also the visible range. At what scales do I want to be able to see this data layer? So for example, here we had the slider bar in the classic, but notice in the new map viewer, you also have scales that you can choose from just like that, and also helpful text to allow you to efficiently do that. Wonderful. Also, on the left side here is a base map, just like before. You've got topographic. Let's change it to terrain with labels. So now if I change the transparency around, I can see that terrain behind my states layer. Okay, so I've got some properties here, just like you had before. Okay, that makes sense. Also, in here, I've got style. So now I've got this layers, state level. I'm going to styles. I'm going to select that state level. And I'm going to say, you know what? I don't want every single state to be the same symbol. I want to change it based on a field. This is the American Community Survey data. In this case, I've got about 100 different variables at my fingertips. And notice it's all alphabetically sorted, which is very nice. So I'm going to go and search, because I don't want to have to scroll through this list, for median age. What states are older? Median age. Which states are younger? I'm going to go ahead and add median age. And so it takes the data that I have and says, okay, I'm going to map that data based on smart mapping principles. Now you can override these smart mapping principles if you would like to. So for example here, maybe you don't like the color, maybe you don't like the number of categories. You can change it. I'm going to go to style options. Notice I've got this range indicated of the data. I've got one state that's 30. According to this data set, it's always important to ask, according to this data set, who collected it, when it was collected, how often is it updated, etc. This is from the U.S. Census Bureau American Community Survey. And I have got another state at the other end with a median age of 44.8 as of 2018, according to this data set. So let's say I want to classify the data. I want it natural breaks, and maybe instead of 4, I want 5 categories. Now I've got 5 categories, and I'm going to say, okay, that's good. I'm going to say done, done. And now let's pop up a legend. Now the legend is on the left side in that gray pane, and now I can see a quick legend for my states. I've got Alaska and Hawaii up here also. They're not tucked south of Arizona like on printed maps. So we've got some capabilities here to interact with the data. I can click on these polygons, lines, points in my new map viewer, and as expected, just like you had in the classic, you've got the capability of looking at the data. This is the I part of GIS. The G part is the map, the satellite image, the 2D or 3D map, and the I part is the information behind the map, and working together, that's the GIS. That's why it's so powerful. But in the new map viewer, you also have the capability of docking these things or expanding these things. I can undock, I can dock, I can move these things around, etc. That's another enhancement with the new map viewer. Another thing I can do is I can filter the data. So if I wanted to filter the data, I'm going to add an expression, and I'm going to say, you know what, I want to filter on median age. So I'm going to type in median, there's my median age, and I'm going to say median age, okay, replace, is less than, I'm just going to pick from this list here. I don't even have to type in syntax. I don't have to type in curly brackets and greater than or less than. It's very intuitive. median age is less than, and now I can slide this. Notice the median here for the whole country, according to the data that we have at our fingertips, was 38.8. If I say, you know, I want less than 38, and I can even type in this box right here, less than 37. 37 here, okay. And I'm going to say save. Now I'm filtering the data. Now I'm only looking at layers, well, this particular layer, states level, where the median age is less than 37. Okay, now let's take a look at the table behind the data. I said median age is less than 37. Now I've got my list of states. I want to know how many states I've got. So I'm going to go to the left side, go to the layers, and that's my states level data. And then in here I've got 3 dots. And I can expand that to additional things. I can zoom to those, I can show table, show properties, or I can remove that layer entirely. I'm going to go to show table, and now I should have, because I filtered the data, fewer attributes that I'm looking at, correct? So if I look at the table here, so again, it's the triple dots, the ellipses there, and I'm going to look at the table of data. Show table, and now what do I have? It looks like I've got a small assortment of states where it met my criteria, i.e. my expression. That is, in this case, I had 51 records at the beginning, and now I'm going to go ahead and save my expression. I've got 7 records in the table, 7 records in the table. So here, my records in the table, Alaska, okay, it's up there. I've got the transparency turned on so I don't see it dark, but notice I can make it darker if I want to, right? I can go back up to the properties for that particular layer. And if I go to properties on that particular layer, I can slide that slider bar for properties a bit down so that I can see these a little bit darker than I had before. Okay, I'm liking that a little bit better. Now I've got 7 records in the table, and all of them meet the criteria. Now you may say, well, Joseph, I see Alaska up there, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, Georgia. Wait a minute, where's 7? Well, remember, one of them is a state equivalent, and that is the District of Columbia. So if I zoom in there to Washington, D.C., that is another one of the ones that met my criteria for the 7. How do I get rid of that filter now? I go back to filter, and as you might expect, right at the top, there's remove filter. So I've got that as well. Let's go back to the interface and get a little bit more comfortable with it, shall we? So let's review the interface, shall we? We've touched on symbology, filtering, transparency, layers, changing the base map. Let's do a few more things. One of the things that I like about the new map viewer is that you've got several different panes. Sometimes you're losing a little bit, especially if you're on a tablet, the real estate of the map. You want to see more map and less interface. So there is this hide interface. So now I see a lot of map and not much interface at all. Then I can toggle these back and forth, hide and show interface. That's very nice to be able to do that. So that's one of the things that I wanted to show you. On the left panel, it's the gray panel, you can collapse the gray panel. So now you're just seeing, as you hover over these, choices. I can go back and expand. So that also gives you more real estate. Let's talk about strategies ever so briefly as we close our short workshop. When do you use the new map viewer versus the classic? I would highly advocate using the new map viewer unless you need a couple of things. Why? It's faster, it's more intuitive, it has more functionality. Unless you need presentations, which are still in classic as of June 2021, or the analysis tools, which have yet to migrate over to the new viewer. Unless you need those 2 things, use the new map viewer. As in classic, you can do things without signing in. Again, this is important because there are some uses, like we've done here, where you can do some powerful things and you can do them quickly without actually signing in. I'm not interested in saving, I'm not interested in sharing. I just want to show this to my students on a screen or in a Zoom session or something like that. Also, I think it's important to be able to demonstrate to your educator colleagues that you can do things in the new map viewer without signing in, because let's say you want to attract the history teachers or professors or the data science or the business professors of the value of doing spatial analysis. They might not want to sign in. They might not know why it's valuable to sign in. So getting them interested right away is a key feature with this not signing in option. And also, another reason to use the new map viewer, in my opinion, is that you can open a map, that's saved in the new viewer in Classic. You can open it up in Classic. If you're using some capabilities that only exist in the new, like sketching, they won't show in the Classic. But you've got a lot of flexibility here. You can open things in Classic, you can open things in the new viewer, but I highly recommend using the new viewer unless you need some things that aren't in the new viewer as of June 2021. And again, this video is time-stamped, I realize, so this will be changing, and soon you'll have all the capabilities of Classic in the new viewer and more. So I hope this was helpful to use the new map viewer. You see the different interface here and a couple of other things that we'll touch on here at the end. And one of them is measurement. You still have measurement as you did before. I like the new tool in the measurement. Another thing that you can do is demonstrate if I go out to a distance, the shortest distance between two points is actually a curved line on this two-dimensional Earth. Why? Because there's a three-dimensional spheroid, right? It's not a perfect sphere that we're living on. And so for those of you that have flown from, for example, North America to Europe, you know that you're tipping the south part of Iceland as you fly over there, or Greenland at least. Why? Well, because that's the Great Circle Route. Okay, so on this map, you can teach a lot of shape of the Earth kinds of concepts. And you've got lots of choices, as you would expect, for the units, whether it's linear or an aerial unit. So you've got those capabilities. One last thing to show you all. Let's go ahead and get rid of the measure tool. But you have this capability, as you had in Classic, to find a place. So let's say I want to find St. Paul, Minnesota. Okay, great. I've got that capability. All right, super. I can show more results. There's other St. Pauls in the geographic names database. You can also search on a coordinate. So let's say I want to go to 38 north minus 122 west. So my longitude is 122. My latitude is 38. I'm going to zoom out. And so here's a location near San Francisco. I'm going to turn off the population and the demographic information, and now I've got that exact coordinate. Very nice to be able to do that. And notice I can dock that just like I can dock any pop-up. There's a lot more you can do with pop-ups in the new map viewer as well. Location. I can pan around on the map. I'm going to turn off these demographics layers. And I can get my latitude and longitude. Notice longitude is first and latitude is second. It's XY. I can change it to degrees, minutes, seconds. Interesting. Or some other coordinate system like universal transverse Mercator. Interesting. So I've got lots of capabilities. Also, I can capture. Let's say I really want to know the location of this bridge. Okay. Now, as I scroll around, notice that location is now captured and frozen in the latitude and longitude, so I know exactly the location that I marked on that bridge. Excellent. And then I can also input a coordinate as we did before. So here, let's do minus 123, 38. That's out here at Point Reyes, California. Wonderful. Again, turning off the demographic layer. Fascinating to be able to do this with the new map viewer. Lots of capabilities at your fingertips, and then more capabilities if you actually sign in. You can add layers, you can save, you can share, create web mapping applications, do spatial analysis at some point in the near future, and more. Thanks.